Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter. It's promptly 12:30 Eastern Time. We're going to go ahead and get started here. As we do typically before each one of the webinar events, just a few things. We're going to be here for the next 20 minutes or so till 12:50. I will do my best to keep within that 20-minute time frame. You can certainly leave the webinar at any time. We are recording it, so it will be produced and put out on the New Year Prep and Help page at our website here sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours, if not sooner, to revisit. The document that I'm using for today's event is attached to the webinar as a handout. It is also available on the support center page at our again New Year Prep and Help page on our website. Let me bring that up here real quick. Get my browser going. While I'm doing that, if you're, here we go to supporting. Typically, we would steer folks to go to our support center, but since this is an end-of-year webinar today, the document and the video will be available down here under this one called New Year Prep and Help. I mean, it may be available on our support center, but we steer folks to the New Year Prep and Help page for events such as this. We're quickly approaching the new end of year, of course, New Year, so we have a number of these webinar events, and they're all going to be, recordings and documents are all going to be available definitely under New Year Prep and Help. If you have questions, please type those into the questions portion of the control panel, webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those and try to repeat those and get those answered for you. As you see here, clearly I've gone to the New Year Prep and Help page. We've got the documents listed down the left-hand side. Let me get my highlighter out. Documents over here and videos over here on the right. And so the document will be down here under the payroll section, and the video will be on the right on there. Okay, so you can find ones from previous years here, or you'll be able to revisit it and find the new ones here. Okay, and again, go to the handouts on the webinar control panel there to print the document that I'm using. That document has been updated within the past week. All right. Please keep the questions on topic, folks, about our end-of-year procedure in payroll. We have other webinars that are on the end-of-year processes and other modules that are upcoming here, and you're certainly welcome to attend those as well if you wish, okay? So on the first page of the document, the first thing that it notes here, and we're probably going to go through much of this in a lot of detail, is the Church Windows payroll update will be sent to you or issued as soon as possible after the release of the New Year's tax tables for the new year. So our developers, we're waiting on the 2020 tax tables from the government and any states that are updated, if possible, to include those in that update. Then once that's available within, a week, 10 days, 2 weeks after that, we will get the payroll update out to you as quickly as humanly possible. That update, of course, updates the tax files for 2020, notably for the federal government, of course. And it also includes the 2019 tax forms, notably the W-2 forms, okay, and if I'm not mistaken, the informative copy of the 1099s as well, and the 1096. The second paragraph talks about installing your new payroll update is not the same as performing the end-of-year procedure. All you're doing when you're installing the update is installing the new version of the payroll module. The end-of-year procedure is a separate step and a separate function. We're going to go through that here momentarily, okay? It says, one's an update to the program and needs to be installed as soon as you receive it. So as soon as you receive the payroll 2020 installation file, go ahead and install it. You don't have to run the end-of-year procedure until you're ready to do that, okay? But that is a separate function, okay? So it says here, 2 things need to occur to perform the end-of-year procedure in payroll. Install the Church Windows Payroll 2020 update on your computer when you receive it, and it points out that if your payroll is networked, you're going to have to install the payroll update on both the main server machine and the workstations where payroll is installed as well, okay? If you have questions or problems with that, of course, please give us a call and we'll be happy to do our best to help, okay? Number 2 there is if you transfer payroll to accounting, if you own Church Windows Accounting, then the 2020 accounting year must also exist before you can run the end of year procedure in payroll. And we're going to go through all that in terms of how that looks when that stuff. We don't have payroll 2020. So I'm going to be walking you through these steps on the 2019 version to show you what to expect if you don't have the 2020 payroll installed. Okay, so I'm being asked, network, would that include VOS? No, Teresa, your VOS and all of the Church Windows web users, the payroll installation will be installed as soon as it's released. You decide then when you want to run the end or perform the end of year procedure, okay? Second question, is this all verbal or is there supposed to be a screenshot showing too? Yeah, again, Helen, if you click on the webinar control panel, you'll find a section called handouts, and there you'll be able to find the document that I'm using as the printed format or printed material for our presentation today. Okay. Then it says you need to go run the end of year procedure to open the 2020 payroll year, which is then on page 2, which we're going to come to momentarily. Okay. And finally, on the reminder there of page 1, it says if you try to run the W-2s before installing the update, the forms will still show the 2018 year. So even when I run the end of year procedure here on our 2019 version, it's going to let me do that, okay? But if I were to go in and look at the W-2s even in 2020, it's still going to say 2018 because I don't have the payroll update installed, okay? Finally, the important note there at the bottom of page 1 talks about how we always, folks, I've been doing this for almost 18 years at this point, and we have released a payroll update at the end of March of every single year that, you know, and certainly including to, you know, some bug fixes and any state tax table updates or things like that. Notably, it updates or installs your 2020 941 form. Okay, we can't release that too soon because folks are still filing their prior year's forms, you know, well into the new year. So you could be, you know, not, submitting your final 941 at the end of January or the beginning of February. So we cannot include, we don't even have the 2020 941 form. It always comes out sometime in that first quarter, but is always updated at the end of March of every single year. Okay, so when you install the Payroll 2020 update, the 941 will still be for 2019, not for 2020, okay? All right, so on page 2, it talks about update the update installation is to make a backup of your data. You would go to System Administration and backup, okay? Make a backup, put it on a flash drive, on your desktop, somewhere where you can access it should you need it. You generally, hopefully won't, okay? Then the step 2 would be to run or install the Payroll 2020 update. When we send that to you in the email will have links to an instructions document, update instructions document. So you will receive help, you know, installation help in a document in the email that includes the link to the Payroll 2020 update, okay? Then the step 3 is to actually physically perform the end of year procedure, okay? So how we would do that is we'd go to System Administration and right down here at the very bottom choose End of Year Procedure. So when I click on that, it's going to bark at me. It's going to say, warning, read before running 2019. The End of Year Procedure should be run after you have updated your payroll software to 2020 release and after you have run the last payroll for 2019. Well, that's not true anymore. You can run the end of year even though you still have payroll to still run in the prior year. The system does hang on to both years' tax tables. Otherwise, you might lose data, it says. But it says, do I want to continue? And I can click yes on that. Then it pops up and gives me a second warning. And it says, running the end-of-year procedure updates the payroll database for the payroll year 19 to 20. It appears you have not installed the Payroll 2020 update. Do you still want to continue? I can still click yes if I want, okay? So when I do that, it now pops up and it's warning me the 2020 accounting year must exist in the CW accounting system and must have accounts assigned before the payroll update or before the payroll end of year procedure can be run. So that's telling me, warning me right there that my accounting new year has to be open. So I'm going to jump into accounting real quick and I'm going to run that. So all we're going to do is set up our new accounting year. So I'm not covering the accounting here in any detail, folks. That's another webinar. We're just going to set that up, okay? So once it opens up our 2020 accounting year, now I can go back to payroll, end of year. It's going to give me the same messages about my version. I'm just going to click yes on those. It then asks me, do I want to clear any accumulated vacation or sick time? That's your choice. If you want to carry that over, you would click no, but if you want to clear it and start everyone over with a zero beginning balance for your zero balance for vacation and sick time, you'll click yes. So we're going to click yes on that. It then says payroll end of year procedure completed successfully, okay? So now the version hasn't changed. It's still payroll 2019. Then we go to system administration and system profile. Notice it does show our payroll year is now set to 2020, okay? My tax tables, however, are still set for 2019, okay? Because I don't have the new tax tables installed, okay? So when I go back now and I try to click OK through that and I go in and try to run a payroll, I'll leave it as today's date just for, the purposes of our webinar, and I click next, and I just assume I'm paying everybody the same rates. It says no federal information found in the tax tables for 2020, okay? So then that confirms for us that we don't have the current version installed, okay? Now, so if I go, okay, well, I'm not ready, I want to go back, I can just go to System Administration, choose 2019 from the menu, click OK. I've now changed my payroll year back. I can run payrolls for 2019 using those 2019 tax tables, no problem whatsoever, okay? I'm being asked, should I run a backup if we are in the cloud? Patty, it's a good question. I would say, it's your data. I would, so you can just put it on the cloud desktop, but it's a point in line in time, so sure, yeah, make a backup of your data in payroll before running the end of year. You bet. Call us if you need help with that. So now all I would need to do would be to install the Payroll 2020 update, folks, to install those tax tables. The end of year has been completed. My payroll 2020 payroll year now exists. Installing the update doesn't change that, okay? All it does now is install the 2020 tax tables and the 2019 W-2s, okay? And other pertinent tax documents except the 941, okay, where applicable, okay? But I can now toggle back and forth between the years as I wish. I just can't run a payroll with the 2020 date on it because those tax tables don't exist, okay? All right, so let's wrap this up here, this last page and a half here, talking about some of our tax documents and filing. It talks about there, after returning to the prior year, that's what that was showing you under System Admin and System Profile and changing your year here. It talks about, certain tax documents and things like that. So it talks about electronic filing. If we go to reports, we see up here the option called electronic filing, and we have two options, Tax Bandits or SSE filing or Pennsylvania State EIT filing for e-filing. If you file electronically with the Social Security Administration, you can have the system produce a file using this SSA e-filing or Tax Bandits, okay? You need a PIN with the Social Security Administration. If you don't have a PIN, you can go to the ssa.gov website and submit for an application to get your PIN there, okay? But literally, it goes through and creates a file that then can be uploaded into the Social Security Administration's website, okay? We're not going to go through that today, folks. There isn't time on that, but it can be produced. If you also submit through Tax Bandits, basically it's an economical way of being able to electronically file your forms for either federal or state. I think they can do both for you, but you don't have to have an account with them. They'll actually let you know what your expense is or cost is up front, if my understanding is correct about that. But either way, whether you use Tax Bandits or not, you can use this file for both federal Social Security Administration e-filing, and there is an option for state fulfillment too. So it includes all the information, but there is an option that allows you to be able to choose whether you want to submit it for federal and state fulfillment or just state fulfillment, okay? So that electronic filing is very popular and is something you may want to explore, okay? But again, if you're unfamiliar with Tax Bandits and you would like to try to, I encourage you to check them out. They're a partner vendor of ours, and we would recommend that if the church has is willing to spend the money, I think it's actually quite affordable to do that. I don't have figures on that, but it might be probably worthwhile checking out. Okay. You can, of course, on the third page here, print W-2s through Church Windows Payroll. We have changed our payroll year back, so we're now back in the 2019 payroll year. So we now go to Reports, Tax Reports, W-2 forms, and so it asks us who do we want to produce the forms for. So it lists all of the employees. I can pick and choose, which ones I want, but these are all the folks that the software sees had payroll posted in the 2019 payroll year. If there's anyone with an invalid Social Security number, it'll tell you that. But then when we go to Next, it asks us, do we want the file copy or the government copy? So when we choose the government copy, now the right-hand side of the screen, or document style, is now live. So standard IRS format is the form that you would obtain from the IRS or your local office supply store, which is the multi-layered copies of those, not typically friendly for new laser and inkjet printers anymore. So you would need to get a printer that would actually support that. There are other options, of course. It is just a standard IRS format. So when we click Next and we preview that, it literally just prints all of the information with no lines and none of the information, because you need the form for that, okay? So we're going to go back. We're going to choose the 4-up. Again, this would be 4 W-2s per page, and again can be purchased from your local office supply store. It's for, there's one for like federal and state and local, and then another one in the corner for the employee's copy of that as well. Okay, but again, it comes pre-printed. So when we click Next, it opens up, and again, there's it's 4 per page essentially. So the line would be drawn like right here and right here, and then there'd be one for each, one of the taxing authorities here in each corner. Okay. Finally, and this is the more common choice these days, is black and white. So this is, for several years now, the IRS has permitted you to file your W-2s or give your W-2s or distribute those to your employees on plain paper, provided it's printed to a laser printer or copier printer. Can't use an inkjet printer, okay? But you do have to print each one of the copies, cut them, and manually collate them as needed, okay? So if I choose copy A for the SSA and click Next, it'll print that. Now again, I encourage you to keep in mind that the reason why it shows my 2018 year is because I do not have the 2020 version of Payroll installed yet, okay? Once I do, that will be there, okay? So, but this is, again, a completely fileable form once I have the correct year on it, okay? Wouldn't cut that one. I would submit those, print those, and I'd submit them that way or electronically using the e-filing. Then I would go back, choose the next copy, show full or partial Social Security number, click Next, send it to my printer, cut them, go back and do the same process for any of the other forms. Of course, the copy C is the employee's copy, it is the employee's copy, and that would be 1 employee per page, okay? But then, yeah, I receive the black and white copy from Computer Helper here when I get have for several years, when they give me my W-2s to start the year here. So it's completely acceptable, again, provided you have a laser or copier printer. Okay. 1099s, finally, do require still the form. They do not have a black and white option for 1099s or 1096. You need to get the forms from the IRS for filing those. That's true whether you're filing them or printing them from accounting or from payroll. Okay? So that wraps up our topic here for today, folks.